Before a throne can be claimed, before a heart can be weighed, before a spell can be spoken, something must first be known. In ancient Egypt, knowledge was not a quiet thing locked away in the mind. Knowledge had weight. Words had force. Names had power. To write something was not merely to describe the world, it was to help shape the world, preserve it, and hold it against the darkness. This is where Thoth enters the story. He is the ibis-headed god of wisdom, writing, magic, measurement, the moon, and sacred speech. He is the scribe of the gods, the keeper of records, the measure of time, and the witness who stands beside judgment itself. When the gods argue, Thoth writes the record. When the cosmos must be measured, Thoth calculates. When the wounded must be restored, Thoth knows the words that heal. When the dead stand before the scales, Thoth writes what cannot be hidden. To the Egyptians, the universe survived through order, but order had to be named, remembered, counted, and spoken correctly. And in that sacred act of naming and remembering, Thoth was there. This is the story of Thoth, Lord of wisdom, magic, and the moon, the god who wrote reality into form. Tonight on Ancient Mythos, Thoth, Lord of wisdom, magic, and the moon. To understand Thoth, the Egyptians did not begin with a human face. They saw him in the ibis, a long-beaked bird moving through the marshes, precise and watchful, searching the water with patient intelligence. They saw him in the moon, not the blazing sun of kingship, but the cooler light that measures the night, counts the months, and returns after disappearing into darkness. Thoth could appear as an ibis-headed god, a sacred ibis, or even a wise baboon greeting the rising sun. These forms were not random decorations. They were signs of how the Egyptians imagined wisdom itself, alert, rhythmic, observant, and tied to the hidden order beneath the visible world. The ibis suggested careful searching. The moon suggested calculation and return. The scribe's palette suggested memory made permanent. Together, they formed a god who belonged to thresholds, between day and night, speech and silence, knowledge and mystery. Thoth was not merely a god who knew things. He was the god who made knowledge useful, measured time, recorded truth, named what was hidden, and gave sacred thought a visible form. Among the gods, power was not enough. A throne could be seized. A battle could be won. A voice could command the room for a moment. But unless a thing was witnessed, measured, and recorded, it could vanish into argument. This was Thoth's place in the divine order. He was the scribe of the gods, the one who stood near the decisions of heaven and gave them permanence. When the gods assembled, Thoth did not merely listen. He recorded what was spoken, weighed the meaning of claims, preserved the boundary between truth and deception, and made divine judgment into something that could not easily be denied. In Egyptian imagination, the written record was not passive. It was authority. It was memory given a body. It could protect a king's name, secure an offering, guide the dead, preserve a spell, or bind a decision to the structure of Ma'at. That is why Thoth appears near the scales, near the throne, near the council, and near the moment when truth must be fixed into form. He is the god who remembers for the gods themselves. For the Egyptians, writing was never just decoration. A name carved into stone could preserve a life beyond death. A spell written on papyrus could guide a soul through danger. A word spoken correctly could open a gate, protect a body, or restore what had been broken. Language was not separate from magic. Language was one of magic's most important forms. This sacred force was called Heka, the power that allowed divine speech, ritual action, and written signs to affect reality. Thoth was deeply connected to that power because he knew the correct words, the correct measures, and the correct order in which hidden things had to be named. To write was to give thought a body. To speak with knowledge was to release force into the world. And to misuse sacred words was dangerous, because magic without wisdom could become chaos wearing the mask of power. Thoth's magic was not wild. It was precise. It was the spell arranged in the proper sequence, the name preserved without error, the ritual word placed exactly where it belonged. In Thoth, wisdom and magic were not enemies. They were the same sacred discipline, knowledge made active. The sun ruled the day with obvious power. But the moon ruled more quietly. It vanished and returned. It grew, diminished, and renewed itself. It divided the darkness into rhythm. It gave shape to months, festivals, offerings, and sacred calendars. To follow the moon was to understand that time was not an empty road. Time was a pattern. This is why Thoth belongs to the moon. As a god of calculation and measurement, he was linked to the counting of days, the reckoning of months, and the order that allowed rituals to happen at the proper moment. The moon did not simply shine over the world. It taught the world how to count. In myth, Thoth could even be imagined as winning extra days from the moon, days that allowed the births of gods and the unfolding of destiny. Whether told as story, symbol, or sacred memory, the meaning is clear: time itself required intelligence. For the Egyptians, order was not only moral. It was temporal. The right act had to happen in the right season, the right offering at the right hour, the right words under the right sky. Thoth watched the night, measured the cycle, and gave the gods a calendar by which the world could continue. Wisdom, for the Egyptians, was not cleverness by itself. A person could be clever and still be false. A ruler could be powerful and still be unjust. A spell could be effective and still be dangerous. Knowledge had to answer to something higher, and that higher principle was Ma'at. Ma'at was truth, balance, right order, justice, and the proper structure of the world. It was the feather against which the heart would one day be weighed, but it was also the pattern that held the living world together: the seasons, the throne, the temple, the family, the oath, the spoken word. Thoth belonged beside Ma'at because knowledge needed balance, and balance needed to be recorded, measured, and defended. He did not use writing only to preserve power. He used it to preserve order. He did not measure time only to count days. He measured so ritual could align with truth. He did not record judgment as a clerk. He recorded it because truth without witness could be twisted. In this way, Thoth and Ma'at belonged together: wisdom and truth, measurement and balance, the word and the order that gives the word meaning. He recorded it because truth without witness could be twisted. In this way, Thoth and Ma'at belonged together: wisdom and truth, measurement and balance, the word and the order that gives the word meaning. Nowhere is Thoth's role clearer than in the Hall of Two Truths. In the Egyptian afterlife, the dead did not pass into eternity simply because they had died. They stood before judgment. Their heart, the seat of memory, conscience, and truth, was weighed against the feather of Ma'at. Anubis tended the scales. Osiris presided as Lord of the Dead. Ammit waited in the shadows. And Thoth recorded the result. That detail is essential. The judgment was not only performed. It was written. It became a record that could not be argued away. Thoth's scroll turned the moment of weighing into divine truth fixed in form. He did not decide by force. He witnessed, measured, and recorded. He stood between the fragile soul and the terrifying permanence of judgment, making sure the balance was seen clearly and remembered correctly. In the Hall of Two Truths, Thoth is wisdom under pressure, calm beside fear, precise beside eternity, riding beside the scales where every hidden thing becomes known. Thoth's wisdom did not only record what had happened. It could also repair what violence had broken. In one of the great mythic patterns of Egypt, the Eye of Horus is damaged in the struggle against Set. The wound is not just physical. It is a rupture in order, kingship, sight, and wholeness. Something sacred has been torn apart, and the world cannot simply move forward as if nothing happened. Here, Thoth appears as healer and restorer. He knows the words that mend. He knows how the broken pieces must be counted, named, and returned to their proper place. Restoration is not chaos reversed by force. It is order rebuilt through knowledge. That is why the restored eye could become a symbol of healing, protection, offering, and wholeness. It was not merely repaired. It was made meaningful again. In Thoth's hands, wisdom becomes medicine. Writing becomes a bandage for the cosmos. Magic becomes the art of returning the broken thing to its true form. Wisdom is most necessary when power has become dangerous. In Egyptian myth, the gods are not always calm symbols of order. They argue. They compete. They grieve. They seek revenge. Their conflicts can shake the world they are meant to protect. In those moments, victory by force is not enough. Someone must interpret claims, calm anger, preserve truth, and find a way for order to continue. This is another role of Thoth. He appears as mediator, counselor, and divine negotiator, the intelligence that stands between competing powers. In traditions surrounding Horus and Set, Thoth is connected with the legal and cosmic problem of succession: who has the right to rule, and how can the conflict end without destroying the balance of Egypt? A mediator does not erase conflict. He gives it form. He turns shouting into testimony, violence into judgment, rivalry into a decision the cosmos can survive. Thoth's wisdom is therefore practical. It is not hidden away in a scroll for its own sake. It enters the council chamber, the battlefield's aftermath, the divine argument, and the wounded world that needs a verdict. Where the gods clash, Thoth makes resolution possible. Every culture imagines that some knowledge must be protected. For Egypt, sacred knowledge lived in temple archives, ritual houses, and texts copied by trained hands. The Egyptians sometimes spoke of the house of life, a place connected with scribes, healing, ritual, astronomy, and the preservation of divine words. It was not a library in the modern sense. It was a sacred workshop where knowledge could become medicine, ceremony, calendar, and magic. Thoth stands behind this idea. The books associated with him were not ordinary books. They represented hidden wisdom, names, spells, measurements, calendars, rituals, and powers that could help the living, guide the dead, and preserve order. But hidden knowledge was never harmless simply because it was holy. A sacred text could protect. It could heal. It could open the way. But it could also be dangerous if handled without discipline. The deeper the knowledge, the greater the need for restraint. This is why Thoth's wisdom is guarded. It is not secrecy for its own sake. It is the recognition that words powerful enough to shape reality must be copied carefully, spoken carefully, and understood carefully. The hidden book is not only a treasure. It is a test. But wisdom is never only power. It is also responsibility. The myths surrounding Thoth warn us that sacred knowledge cannot be treated like ordinary possession. To know the hidden name, to speak the correct word, to measure the invisible order of things, these are gifts, but they are also burdens. Used without humility, wisdom can become arrogance. Magic can become theft. Records can become weapons. The mind that understands the pattern may be tempted to rule the pattern for itself. This is the price of Thoth's world. Knowledge must be guarded because it can heal or harm. Writing must be disciplined because words can restore or destroy. Judgment must be recorded because truth is fragile when power wants to rewrite it. Thoth does not represent cleverness alone. He represents measured wisdom, knowledge held under the laws of Ma'at, power restrained by truth, speech guided by responsibility. The divine scribe teaches that to understand the cosmos is not to own it. It is to serve its balance. The greatest wisdom is not knowing every secret. It is knowing how carefully a secret must be carried. So Thoth is not only the god of writing. He is the mind of sacred order made visible. He is the moon that measures the night. The pen that fixes judgment into truth. The word that makes magic possible. The record that preserves memory beyond death. The healer who restores what violence has broken. The counselor who turns divine conflict into resolution. Across all these roles, one idea remains constant: the universe must be understood in order to be kept whole. To the Egyptians, reality was not a machine running by itself. It was a balance that had to be guarded, renewed, spoken, measured, remembered, and written. Thoth stood at the center of that work, quiet, precise, watchful, and ancient. Kings could rise and fall. Temples could be buried. Scrolls could crumble into dust. But the image of Thoth remained, the ibis-headed scribe beneath the moon, writing against the dark. He reminds us that wisdom is not noise. It is not conquest. It is the careful word, the measured line, the truthful record, the patient act of restoring order. And in the silence between moonlight and ink, Egypt imagined a god still writing, holding the cosmos together one sacred word at a time. If this was interesting and informative, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and join us for the next Ancient Mythos story.